Good evening. I'm Chief Political Correspondent Mark Davis, live at the state capitol in Hartford, and this is another edition of Ask the Governor. And Governor Malloy is joining us again. Thanks for joining us. And let me thank everyone at home for sending in all of their questions. But you may notice it's a little different surrounding. We're actually not in the governor's office this time because the governor had a meeting with legislative leaders up until a short time ago, and we are in the old appropriations meeting room, which is just a floor above that. Let me take reporters' prerogative to ask you about the meeting. Tomorrow is the legislative session on jobs. Has there been a snag? Can you explain what's going on?
No snag at all. This is what you do. You keep talking. We have another meeting at 6 o'clock. We have, I would say at this point, agreement on 98% of what we need agreement on, and I think by 7 o'clock tonight we'll have agreement on 100%. That's the whole idea, and we're moving forward.
Can you give us just a quick outline of it in like 30 seconds?
Sure. It's giving us tools necessary to build business. It's setting aside a lot of money to support small business and startup enterprises. It's making sure we train the workforce, our people coming into the workforce for the right things that will match what our Connecticut employment picture looks like. So this is a commitment to the people of the state of Connecticut to get Connecticut's economy going for the first time in 22 years.
All right, that's tomorrow. Let's get to the viewer questions. Again, thank you for all of your questions. Our first question comes from Sam in Meriden. He asks, if the state is in such bad financial trouble, how can we afford giving a cent away to NBC Sports on a flimsy promise to hire such a paltry small amount of people when many of their employees are already Connecticut residents? Actually, there's some sense to that question because I'm sure some of them already are Connecticut residents.
I'm sure some number of them are, but the 100 people that they plan on moving from Philadelphia certainly are not, or the positions that they'll move. The positions that they'll move from elsewhere in the country certainly are not. And by and large, the vast majority of their employees in New York are not Connecticut citizens. On top of which, this is digital media, an area that we're building an expertise in, and we need another big employer in digital media to make Connecticut a place where people are willing to go because they figure if they're in digital media, it's not one employer that they're going for. There's other people that they could be employed by, and we need to attract those people to our state. And by the way, this deal pays itself back almost instantaneously.
All right, let's go to our next question. This is from John in West Haven about your proposal to bring Jackson Labs to the Yukon Health Center in Farmington. He asks, please explain your logic in proposing to lay off 7,000 employees to save $200 million and the new proposal to spend $291 million to get 300 jobs over 10 years. I cannot understand it. I think some of those numbers are a little off, but you get the point of the question.
Numbers are off, but this is what we're doing again is making an investment in an industry that is experiencing and is projected to experience 11% growth, and that's bioscience, life sciences, basically. The invention of new products, the perfection of those products, and the bringing to market of those products. Now, Connecticut has pharmaceutical companies currently doing business in the state, some of the biggest, but we just had a warning shot fired across our bow by Pfizer when they moved 440 jobs from their Groton facility to Cambridge, Massachusetts, because Cambridge, Massachusetts, the state of Massachusetts, MIT and Harvard had invested in the infrastructure necessary to support that industry, necessary to support that research. We hadn't done that. And as a result, we lost those 440 jobs. Quite frankly, thousands of jobs could be lost in the state of Connecticut if we're not certain that we're building the kind of infrastructure which will attract the talent necessary to support that industry in our relatively small state. Now, we're currently ranked around 9th. In bioscience. We need to be in the top 5, and I intend to move us there.
Well, let me follow up on both of those questions because I think this is implicit in what they were asking. It's kind of hard for the average person to understand why you get 450 jobs from NBC for a $20 million loan, but it costs almost $300 million to get only 300 jobs in bioscience.
Well, first of all, the bioscience package, including Jackson Laboratories, is a $1.1 billion investment overall, towards which we will invest $291 million over a 10-year period of time. So it's not all at once. We will enter into a formal relationship between the University of Connecticut, Yale, and Jackson Labs. And we're looking at sharing faculty, bringing fully staffed labs. We're bringing scientists with books of business, that is for research dollars of $2 to $4 million a year. Some of these folks bring staffs with them of 13 to 20 people. This is moving bioscience forward in Connecticut. In the absence of doing that, what will happen is we'll lose thousands of jobs. So it's really making an investment necessary to support a successful environment. Now, I have to tell you that the reason we get these kinds of questions is Connecticut hasn't done that. We've been out of it. And what we're trying to do is reverse a 22-year trend in which Connecticut was one of 3 states not to grow jobs in that period of time. So let's be very clear. 47 states shared the creation of 40 million new jobs, and Connecticut got none. I'm going to reverse that.
All right, let's get to the next question from viewers at WTNH.com. This one comes from Elsie in Wallingford. She wants to know, given the budget deficit, the concession agreement, and state debt, why are you and the State Bonding Commission approving so many large bonding projects that create significant debt for Connecticut's future? That, I'm sure, includes the bonding for this special session of job incentives.
Well, what we've said, and I want to answer that very directly, is projecting forward in the current fiscal year and the 3 additional years that will represent my term in office, we can afford to bond about $1.2 to $1.4 billion and expect to maintain a positive bond rating. We need to build infrastructure. We need to make investments in industries, particularly that are growing. And that's what you do to move a state forward. Or to put it another way, if we're not doing what other aggressive states like North Carolina or Massachusetts are doing, then we're going to fall further and further and further behind. And I only have to point to the last 22 years to show that happening.
All right. Next question from WTNH.com from you, our viewers. This one from Rudy in Middletown. I am confused about how the busway will be a long-term benefit to the state. When the construction is complete, what are the projections for ongoing costs in contrast to the projected income from the busway project? That's the New Britain to Hartford busway highway.
Sure. Unfortunately, I didn't bring those numbers, and I don't have those numbers around in my head, but we're projecting 5,000 to 7,000 additional travelers using buses, taking off hundreds, actually thousands of cars.
Is that daily?
Daily.
Daily.
Additional. Yeah. So we have thousands of people using buses now from that direction. But by shifting them to their own road, not having to battle I-84 traffic, not only will we take those buses off, but it's anticipated that 5,000 to 7,000 additional travelers, most of those single-car occupants on 84 will transfer themselves. And a lot has been made about the cost of this road. Let me assure you that the cost of fixing I-84 over the long run or the short run would make this project pale in comparison.
Right, but I know that opponents say that it would be much cheaper just to fix the rail line between New Britain and Hartford.
You know what? I'm a rail guy. I mean, I'm a big believer. I grew up in Stamford. You know, we have thousands of people coming to work in Stamford every day by rail and thousands going out. So this is not a question of what options we use. I think we're going to have to use lots of options in the future and make lots of other investments in infrastructure.
Okay, I think we have to take a break, but then we will get. We have time for one more question in this break, in this segment. All right, let's see. This is from James in Meriden. He says, as the owner of a newly formed small business, I'd like to know why large corporations are afforded special incentives and tax breaks that small businesses are not. Small businesses not only help to keep Connecticut going, but also keep unemployment down.
I agree. That's why I have urged the legislature to take up this package tomorrow that will set aside well over $150 million to support small business, including allowing small businesses to qualify for grants on a per-month basis for new employment. So you go out and hire somebody, we're going to help you defray the cost of that hiring for up to a year. While you train that person, while you make sure that that person is the person that you need to grow your business.
How do you do that? How do you defray that cost?
We're going to have a $200 a month credit. We're going to raise that to $500 and $900 depending on what type of employee you're hiring. If you're going to hire a recent veteran, a disabled person, or a person who's been unemployed on a long-term basis, you may qualify for up to a $900 a month credit with respect to those expenses.
And there's bipartisan agreement on that?
Bipartisan agreement.
All right. Now we do have to take a break, but we'll have more of your questions for Ask the Governor coming up. Stay with us.